9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. If you're a hunter in the UP, April and May mean turkey season. The wild turkey is our largest game bird and is a streamlined version of its domestic counterpart. Adult hens weigh 10 to 12 pounds with gobblers frequently attaining weights over 20. Despite their size, their powerful wings can propel them at speeds of over 50 miles an hour. But unless startled, wild turkeys usually prefer to travel and escape danger by walking and running. The feathers of the wild turkey are beautifully iridescent. Gobblers differ from hens in that the breast and body feathers have black rather than brown tips, thus accounting for the overall darker appearance of the males. Adult males and a small percentage of females have a beard which sticks out from their breast. Although it looks like hair, the beard is actually a modified feather. Beards usually grow about 3 to 5 inches a year to around 9 inches long, with the longest ever recorded at a whopping 18 inches. Turkeys with multiple beards are not uncommon. Another feature is a spur on the inside portion of the leg. In females, only a small knob is present. On males, spurs serve as a way to fend off other males when they spar for dominance when gathering a harem of hens. Spurs grow at a rate of about 1/4 to 1/2 inch a year, and usually top off at about 1.5 inches at 4 years of age. Spurs can be used to help determine a turkey's age. Less than 1/2 inch would be a turkey less than a year old. 1/2 inch to 1 inch, 1 to 2 years. 1 inch to 1.25 inches, 2 to 3 years. And over 1 1/4 inch would be a bird 3 years or older. Each turkey has its own unique voice, which is how they recognize each other. They have outstanding geography skills with the ability to learn the precise details of an area over 1,000 acres in size. Turkeys have 5,000 to 6,000 feathers. Like peacocks, male turkeys puff up their bodies and spread their elaborate feathers to attract a mate. From the neck up, the area of bare skin on the turkey's throat and head vary in color depending on its level of excitement and stress. When excited, a male turkey's head turns blue. When ready to fight, it turns red. And that long fleshy thing draped across the male's beak is called a snood. It's just another feature that helps attract females. Though turkeys don't see well at night, their daytime vision is impressive. A turkey's eyes are spaced far apart and are on the sides of its head. This gives a turkey a visual field of 270 degrees, compared to our own 180. And unlike our eyes, which are unable to focus on things in our peripheral vision, a turkey's eyes can focus clearly throughout its entire field of sight. Those eyes, along with the turkey's ability to rotate its neck all the way around, enable a turkey to spot a predator or hunter from 1 mile or more away. Because its eyes are on the sides of its head, the turkey lacks 3D vision. It compensates for this by bobbing its head to approximate depth perception. Turkeys also have 7 different types of photoreceptors in their eyes. This gives them excellent color vision, as well as the ability to see light in the UVA spectrum. As a result, turkeys see the phosphates found in many laundry detergents as a bright fluorescent blue. So if you use one of these detergents, you may as well skip the camo. You aren't fooling the turkeys one bit. So how do you fool a turkey into shooting range? Here's a look at a couple of turkey hunters who have figured it out.
Well, it was a successful morning, as you guys can see. We got a turkey, and it was an exciting hunt. So it started with last night. Nick Sexton was with his buddy in the property that we were hunting, and they kind of figured out where they're roosting.
We got in on the birds last night, been sitting on them for a couple days trying to figure out where they're at and starting to get their patterns down. Went out this morning, and before we even got out of the car, they were going crazy on all sides of us.
We heard gobbles from everywhere. It was crazy, the amount of toms on that property.
So we tried to get a place to sit and figured we got a good spot, sat down and called for a while. Cody was working the birds and trying to get them to come in and answering, but we couldn't get nothing close.
I was calling back and forth, and there was a lot of gobbles. We heard a few different groups of toms or jakes, and they were gobbling back and forth, and then we heard some hens. So we figured that they were henned up. So what we did, we set up on the edge of a field, and I used one of my crystal calls that I actually got from Curtis Grundon. When I cut with that certain call, those hens get very angry and they usually come in. So I figured that's what I need to do. And after a half an hour, I kept calling, and here and there I would chirp back to them, and that hen would cluck, and I knew she was interested, and they're very territorial. So next thing you know, it was a half an hour later, those toms kept getting closer because they were with those hens.
.906 Outdoors is brought to you by Race Driven, your source for premier power sports products. Customer driven, quality driven, race driven.
Get in touch with your adventurous side and find your drive with Race Driven. As an online retailer, dealership, and manufacturer, we can provide power sport enthusiasts with virtually any part or accessories for ATV, UTV, and motorcycles. Providing a variety of services including manufacturing, prototyping, and powder coating, Race Driven gets it all done right in Escanaba. Our highly experienced team will find you the best products to maximize your performance and keep you safe. Customer driven, quality driven, race driven.
Nick Sexton, one of the buddies, I wanted him to shoot with his bow first, and that was the plan. We saw those 3 toms come over the hill with those 2 hens, and they're a full strut, and they came in, put on a show for us. Those hens were very angry, and they came into the decoys, and I was telling Nick to shoot.
Got one in for me, finally got a good shot, and I was trying to get a shot with the bow, and busted me drawing back on him. He kind of quartered away and tried to take a shot. He was in between pins, and I ended up shooting just low with the bow.
I figured that was my opportunity to fire a few shots off at him. I dropped him and I got him, so. With the 2 hens we called in 2 toms and 1 jake. The 1 jake had about an inch and a half beard on him, and the other tom, other than this one, had no beard. It froze off this winter actually, and Nick wanted to shoot the one with the beard obviously, so that's the one he shot at. This is the same one, and the beard's probably about 8.5 inches. The spurs are an inch and a half maybe, so he's a nice bird, probably 2.5, 3.5-year-old bird. And he's definitely was probably the more dominant one of the group that we shot, so.
Lucky Cody was there on the ball and got him with the shotgun right after, so it was a good morning, had a successful hunt, and hopefully we'll go out next time and be able to stick one with the bow.
I'm happy we had a successful hunt. It was a very interesting morning, and I'm very happy, so.
Cody and I were going back and forth tonight about whether or not we should go out. It was a little windy and kind of cold. Looked like it might be raining. But we decided to go out anyways, and biggest reason why was just increase our chances. We went out to a spot he's been scouting for a while now, and he knows there's some birds and where they've been roosting. Set up some decoys, and right away 2 of the toms came just running at the decoys. I was almost not ready to, to take the shot, but I don't know, luckily fate stepped in and they turned around, kind of went back towards the rest of the hens. They circled around and ended up coming back again about 15 minutes later. And they were a little tentative at first, and toms were kind of hiding behind the hens. Didn't really want to come out and say hi. They were getting farther and farther to my left, and I was running out of a window to shoot through. So I decided as soon as I could see that head poke through, I'm gonna have to take the shot. just so happens the hens moved at the right time, and as I pulled the gun up, the tom kind of poked his head up to see what he was, what the movement was, and perfect shot, and took him down.
There we go, Dwayne. Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, this is my first turkey ever. I can thank Cody here for getting me into it, going out and filming him for discovering the first time where he was shooting and I was filming. Now we kind of traded roles. But yeah, big thanks to Cody. He's good at what he does, calling him in. Learn from the best.
.906 Outdoors is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. Good. Better. Best. Try our new Cooking Wild Seasonings breakfast sausage seasoning or maple breakfast sausage seasoning made with pure UP maple sugar. Today's Wild Game Break is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. Find out more at cookingwildseasonings.com.
Emerald ash borer has been in the state of Michigan since 2002. They believe it came in on shipping pallets from China, someplace in Asia. There, it's a native insect. When it got here, there are no natural defenses against emerald ash borer, and the trees are not adapted to emerald ash borer. So pretty much it's a death sentence for the ash. Emerald ash borer eggs are laid in the little bark crevices, and then the larvae hatch in 7 to 10 days, and then they start their burrow into the tree, and then they start chewing away. They are only known to fly about a half a mile a year themselves, or that's about as far as they'll travel. It's people usually that move the wood and that transport it and really make those big jumps in distance. It's not just firewood, it's the logging industry as well. So we have a lot of standing timber in the UP, for instance, that is ash, and we have to figure out now what to do with it, where to move it, how to process it.
Walleyes. How far do they travel? Where do they come from and where do they end up? How many get caught by fishermen? How many survive? All key information in the overall management of the species. Tagging walleyes is one of the methods used to help determine the answers to these questions. Step it up a notch by putting radio receivers at various locations and installing transmitters in the fish.
My name is Dan Eiserman, and I'm the unit leader at the Wisconsin Cooperative Fishery Research Unit at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. And we're up here today working with the Michigan DNR on the Cedar River as part of a large collaborative study on walleye movements in Green Bay.
When water temps hit the mid-40s, they begin moving into their spawning areas. That makes for a great time to collect walleyes for tagging. One of the methods used to do the collecting is known as electrofishing. I tagged along with Michigan DNR Fisheries Division biologist Troy Zorn and a crew for a look at the process.
You're telling them, right? Let's save these bass. Professor from University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point named Wes Larson. They're doing a genetic study of smallmouth bass in Green Bay, and they've got pretty good samples from I think maybe Menominee down coming up around the Door Peninsula, and then we provided samples from Big Bay to Knock last year. We saw some pretty interesting things in terms of how different or similar the fish from Big Bay to Knock are to those fish in the Door Peninsula. And but there aren't many samples. There weren't any samples from the Cedar River, and there were a few from Little Bay to Knock. So we're going to get some more samples this spring from Big Bay to Knock kind of around when the season opens up, and then come here with electrofishing gear in what would have been a couple of weeks when they're spawning. But it looks like they're moving in right now because we got a pretty good number of smallmouth just in this little area that we shocked. I don't know how many fish we got, 6 or 7, and there were probably another 6 or 7 that we didn't pick up. But
smaller dip net somewhere.
so that's what we're doing, is just collecting some samples ahead of time, because it looks like the smallmouth bass are staging in here for the spawning run already. Because we're getting on, looks like we might be getting on the later end of the walleye run.
19.3. 17.2.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom.
Rapid River Knife Works is the largest custom knife factory showroom in Michigan. The 10,000 square foot showroom is awesome. Hunting knives, pocket knives, and kitchen knives. Watch your custom knife being made and engraved. Free laser engraving with your personal message or company logo. Lifetime warranty on every knife and free sharpening. Plus, visit Rapid River Knife Works gift shop for Stormy Cromer and RRK gear. Bring the family and visit Rapid River Knife Works today.
44. So, not extremely warm, but that's definitely in the walleye spawning range. Generator fired up? Yep. There's a walleye. I got a sucker that time. There's one on your side, just by your boom. I think we're gonna have to run back up.
Today we're taking fish that they've electrofished from the Cedar River walleyes, and we're putting transmitters in them so that we can monitor their movements over the next 2 to 3 years. And what we're interested in is whether fish from the different rivers and different locations around the bay move north and south.
Oh, big pot up here.
Wisconsin fish moving into Michigan or vice versa, and then also where these fish go to spawn on an annual basis and whether or not they return to those same spawning locations each year. So today we're tagging 25 fish. We've also tagged fish all around the bay. We'll continue to tag. We've got plans to tag walleyes in the Escanaba River and up in Little Bay to Knock.
That's pretty nice northern. Not bad. Chunky. Good eating size.
And in total at the end of the study we'll have about 330 walleyes that'll have these transmitters in them.
She hasn't spawned yet. She's green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And the way the tags work is they emit a signal, and we have listening stations positioned all around the bay at key points, including the tribs. And when a fish passes that listening station, it registers the date and time that the fish was there. We also have the receivers positioned in the rivers so we can kind of detect upstream and downstream movement. You know, if they come into the river in the spring, are they headed upriver? And then when they come back out, we can tell that they're leaving the system. So we can kind of get an idea of how long they are in the river for that spawning run. We also take a dorsal spine off each fish to estimate how old the fish is, and then a fin clip for genetics. Each fish has an external tag with our phone number on it indicating a $100 reward. So if somebody legally harvests the fish, if we can get the transmitter that's inside the fish back, we'll give them $100 because we can reuse the transmitter, and it has a temperature logger on it that lets us know what water temperature the fish was in about every 4 hours during the day. So the listening stations, again, there's more than 190 of them around the bay. A lot of these are provided to us by the Great Lakes Acoustic Telemetry Observation System. which allows us to do the study. They're very expensive, and so without those listening stations, we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we're doing here today.
That's a beauty, huh?
The Green Bay Walleye Movement Study is supported with funds from the Fox River Natural Resources Damage Assessment, U.S. Geological Survey, both the Wisconsin and Michigan DNR, and Fisheries Forever. Additional funds were provided by the Beatty Knot Great Lakes Sports Fishermen Club, who purchased the receivers deployed near Gladstone that enable detection of fish movements between the northern and southern halves of Little Beatty Knot.
Yeah, we just finished working up in the rapids, several electrofishing passes, and we got 30 or 40 fish for implanting with acoustic tags. And we're trying to get a balance of males and females over 18 inches, and hopefully we got that. It seems like we got a lot of females, but I bet there's a good number of males in there too. So we're gonna head back down to the ramp, and the crew can start doing the acoustic tagging, and we can sort through the fish to see if there's anything else we need to get for tagging.
So we're still in the initial phases of the study where we're tagging fish, but we did tag about 200 walleyes last fall, mostly in the southern half of Green Bay. And we've been periodically going to some of the rivers and listening with a portable receiver, and already we're seeing some fairly interesting things where fish that we tagged in the Menominee River in the fall have come into the Fox River in the spring. A couple fish that we've tagged in Sturgeon Bay that have shown up in the Menominee or the Fox River. So already we're seeing some movements that are pretty expansive if you think of Green Bay as a whole, where fish are moving from locations that were pretty far away when we tagged them in the fall into some of these tributaries, and we think we'll probably see a lot more of that as we get more data. We'll download all of the receivers that are out in the bay probably sometime this summer, so we won't know a lot about did they cross certain boundaries until that point. But as we're in these rivers, we have a couple receivers in the Cedar Rivers where we are today, so if fish come in, we'll know they're there, and we'll probably download those in a couple weeks just to see if we have any detections. Earlier I was talking about the transmitters. This is actually what it looks like. You can see it even says a $100 reward on it. So if for some reason the fish lost this external tag, if you filleted the fish, you'd probably see this. This yellow portion here is that temperature logger that I spoke about. And we actually need to get that piece off the end of it to get the data, and that's why we want people to report these fish. But this is the tag that you'll actually see. And on it is the phone number for our office. So if you catch one of these and again you legally harvest it, we'll send you $100 if we can get this piece back. If you catch it and you can't harvest the fish, snipping this tag off doesn't really do us any good. We'd like to know that you caught it, but we'd really like you to leave the orange tag on so we still have it out there on the fish. But those are the two pieces that we're applying to these fish today in the Cedar River.